8.3b, parallel and perpendicular lines, parallel equations. So up at the top here, the first thing that we're going to fill in, parallel lines have the same slope. They have the same slope because they're going in the same direction and they're never going to intersect. And once we know that slope and one point, then we can use the formula y equals mx plus b to figure out the equivalent parallel line. And so that's what WAMAP is going to have us do. So let's look at the examples. So example 1 says, find the equation of the parallel line to the line y equals negative 3/4 x plus 2. And that goes through the point negative 8, comma 1. So let me clear everything here so that I can scroll up, give myself a little more room here. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to look at this equation, right? Negative 3/4 x plus 2. So basically in this equation, I know that the slope is that negative 3/4. And so this is the part that's going to stay the same. I can basically ignore this guy because I'm going to have a different y-intercept on my other parallel line. So I'm just going to leave this. Actually, let me save myself some room here. I'm just going to ignore that, come back in and say plus b. And then I'm going to come up here and use my point, because remember, this is x comma y. So I'm going to take that x and I'm going to make it negative 8. And I'm going to put it over 1 because it's going to end up getting multiplied by this 3/4 plus b. It equals 1. So what I did is I just plugged my x and my y into this equation, and now I'm going to solve for b. So I have negative 3/4 times negative 8. I'm going to have to use some of my fraction knowledge and kind of cross cancel where I can. So that's going to be a 1. That's going to be a negative 2. And then I can multiply these guys. Negative 3 times negative 2 is positive 6. Positive 6 plus b now equals 1. So then I'm going to get that b by itself by subtracting 1 minus a negative 6, or just kidding, 1 minus 6 is going to be a negative 5. And what this means is I can come back up here to my original equation, and now I know that my y-intercept is going to be negative 5. So this right here becomes my answer. My slope is the same as the original equation, and I've used that point to find my new y-intercept. Let's look at the second example. So this one, find the equation of the line parallel to the line 2x minus 5y equals 3 that goes through the point 5, comma 3. This right here is in standard form. It is not in y equals mx plus b format. So this is the first thing that I need to do. I need to know what the slope is. So I'm going to have to manipulate this a little bit so that I can figure out what the slope is easily. So I'm going to move that 2x over. I'm going to subtract it because it's crossing the equal sign. I'm left with negative 5y equals negative 2x plus 3. I'm going to divide by negative 5, divide by negative 5, divide by negative 5, because I want to get that y by itself. And again, really, I can ignore this over here because I'm going to be looking for a new, b, a new y-intercept. These negatives can also cancel as well. So I've figured out that my slope is 2/5, and again, it's parallel. I'm looking for the parallel line, so that means that the slope is going to be the same. So now I have this information. I can go ahead and use my point that they give me to solve for my new b. Let me scooch everything up here so that I have more room. And again, 5, 3, so that's going to be my x and y. The y is going to be 3 equals 2/5. I'll plug in the 5 for the x plus b. I have to call on my fraction skills there, so those 5s can cross cancel. 2 plus b equals 3. I'm going to subtract the 2, which means that goes away. So b is going to equal 3 minus 2, which is 1. So I can come back to this equation right up here, and I can put in the 1 that I now know is the spot that this parallel line crosses the y-intercept. So after all of that, I've figured out these two parallel lines. And if I were to graph them, we could see that they were parallel, right? So that's always the next step if you want to check and do that to make sure, but it is not required. As long as you have for parallel lines, as long as you have a y-intercept formula with the same slope, you should be good.